Dear audience, welcome. I'm looking very much forward. My name is Oliver Gassmann. I'm Professor for Technology Management at the University of St.Gallen, and I'm very happy to have Koerl here. Carsten Koerl is the founder and the CEO of Sportradar. Sportradar is the world market leader in B2B technology solutions to the global betting industry. And it's a company valued by $2.4 billion US. I think the highest valued tech company in Switzerland. And I'm very happy that, Carsten, that you're here.
Very happy, Oliver, to be your guest. It's still crazy times and we can't do these meetings physically. So super happy to join it and have an interesting chat about business, technology, sport, whatever we talk about today.
Carsten, before we start to getting into the crisis, which was an amazing transformation story, you just happened to walk out actually the last year. Just before that, could you explain a little bit what is Sportradar exactly doing? Because I think it's quite complex to have and actually don't that you understand that everybody understands a little bit what's the background of it.
Well, it's not so difficult to explain. So we are collecting sport data and we are making stories out of this. So data is our raw material. The much more valuable data is the live data. We store this, we analyze it, then we process it and we distribute it. The processing piece is how do you get a meaning into the data? So having a positioning data gives a different meaning than you have the information that's a goal or that's a point.
So for example, soccer or NFL in the US, worldwide, whatever you take. So you have how many sports?
We have 65 sports at the moment. If you look now to the US, you mentioned, let's take the NBA as a sample. This is a long-term partner for us. We get various data information from them. So we have scouts on the ground, which are collecting this in real time. We have operators in front of real-time video streams, extracting information from there. And we have in every NBA arena 6 HD cameras on the top, on the rooftop, giving us sensoric information, which we can analyze with computer vision. So various data sources, various opportunities to make products out of it.
Mm-hmm. And today, or up to then, before the crisis, actually 95% of all the value you create in Sportsradar is within the first second actually after an event happened. So when Shaqiri for Switzerland just did the goal, then within the first second, 95% of the value of Sportradar you created actually.
Yes, so real time is the information. The real-time information for Shaqiri is very rarely, as you know, so, but it's a good sample. So yeah, it depends how quick can you deliver that information to your clients. The clients are mostly international sports betting operators. It is also media companies. It's even Amazon or Twitter getting that information. And of course, it's the teams, the leagues, and the federations.
Together with my Harvard colleague, Ramon Casadesus Mazanel, we wrote a Harvard business case study on Sportradar, on your company, which was amazing. It was just actually 3 years ago, but I think we have to rewrite the whole case because Corona came, and I remember 1 week after, after the big events had been, you actually came to our MBA class and we had a discussion, and you said actually 99% of all live events have been cancelled. We all remember all the sport live events have been cancelled. And this is actually for your company, this is the oil. You live on that.
Yeah.
What happened then?
It's our rocket fuel. So usually when there is no rocket fuel in your rocket, what happens then? So it falls down and it's crashing. And that was a really phenomenal shock for me, that this can happen. I never thought this can happen. I never thought that the whole both distribution and contribution of your business is falling apart. Never saw this in my business life. That has happened indeed in 3 days. So more or less all professional sports around the world stopped playing within 3 days, which was, if you measure it by percentage, close to 99% of our live content was gone. And it took me 3 days to recover from that shock with a lot of research. How much money do I have to keep the business alive? As an entrepreneur, my first worry is always people. And I saw this with many of my colleagues. It's people.
You have 3,000 employees within the company, more than 8,000 data scouts, freelance, about 3,000 fixed.
That's right. That's the number now, today. So the number at the crisis was 2,500. So we gained a couple of people, luckily. So we're proud that we are interesting for people around the globe to work with us. But that was the first thought. These employees need to be protected. So what can I do? And the first thing is always intuitively, how can I finance this? Yes, we have private equity in the company. If I wait that private equity is giving money into the company, that's far too long. So the signal must come very quick. And that was, after that 3 days of thinking what to do, my first action. And this action was accompanied by various measurements saying, the top management and myself first, taking salary cuts. I took a 100% salary cut. Of course, that was not the case with the management, but we went down with this up until to a level where we said, okay, we have government programs. We looked that we get the people into short-term working here, and where we do not have government programs, we as a company finance this. That's the case in, for example, South Africa, or on the Philippines, where we have big offices. And it was a great act of solidarity. We said, we're going to go in this together, and the biggest shoulders, they shoulder the hardest load, and the smallest, the lowest, and we show solidarity around the globe. We have offices in 30 countries around the globe, and that was the exercise for people. Second exercise was for the business. How can we help our clients to survive? From a sports betting perspective, they very much depend on live information to really do their business. So we did two things. One is we created own live content. That is possible, for example, with Esports. We had been in this time the biggest organizer of FIFA 2020. All what we had to do is first,
so Esports gaming events where people game against each other.
You know, this FIFA 2020 simulation where you're playing football against each other. Really professional.
My son loves that.
Yeah, professional players around the globe. The best ones are in Brazil, and many of the good ones are in Brazil. And we organized this prize tournament, prize money, rules, and then we had to compile models. How good are the players against each other? That we can make predictions, and this is the fuel for our clients, that they can offer betting propositions. So they get a picture, the screen, and they get a proposition and the data. We did the same for table tennis. We arranged playing venues in the Ukraine or in Brazil, where we could play in safe environment, tested by the government and allowed to us. And we produced their video streams. We produced 6,000 table tennis matches a month in the peak period, which we could sell in the same way. Second thing is, we used our knowledge and we used our engineers to work on historical data points to simulate the matches for all the big leagues and all the big sports, soccer, basketball, hockey, tennis, you name it, to use these historical data points to simulate on the real match day, Team A against Team B. Let's take Manchester City against United. And it was on match day 29. So we simulated the outcome of this match. And we offered this also to our clients with visualization on top of it, a 3D visualization. Was a great exercise.
So looking back, actually, without going too much into technical details, this is actually a pure AI and data-based business, what you are actually in. And how did you manage actually to get everybody on board? So you have at the moment at least 700 engineers, 30 AI experts actually on board, in 10 countries distributed. How did you manage to get everybody on board? I mean, you did a huge change from 99% live data event-based revenues actually to virtual simulation based actually on the prediction, on the knowledge you did. But how did you get everybody on board and everybody aligned to go to that?
I think there are two main components. One is what I told you on the beginning. That's the kind of team spirit solidarity, clear messaging. We are in for this together. So we do this together as a team. And a clear message during COVID, no layoffs with the COVID crisis. It was a very, very clear communication from my side. I'm super proud we delivered exactly this, not one layoff. Because of the crisis, even on the beginning, that was a promise and we kept this. That was the buy-in. Number two, specifically for engineering population, the model which we installed in the last 3 years helped us a lot. So we looked a little bit around in the market, and I know the founder of Spotify, great guy, very visionary, built a fantastic company. I met him first time in Copenhagen, and he told me about his engineering model with tribes, with squads and chapters, and said, I love this model because it helps me to go on a business vertical, define a tribe for this, and it helps me with chapters to say, we have AI interfaces, we have access to databases or to the cloud, which are universal for all products, for all stacks. So with this, we created a model which we call Sportify, not Spotify. So small change, and we modified it a little bit, but the principle is that if you have a tribe, you have these smaller squads, which are very product related. And here we have a product engineer, we have a programming unit, and we have a business developer in a triangle situation. So that helps very much to arrange a scalable engineering business in, as you said, 10 different locations around the globe in different time zones. So that was a key for our success within that crisis and pandemic situation, because we had to switch from one day to another to get the complete population, all our employees, to home office work. So we had really 2,500 employees in 1 week. We switched that all into home office, and that model from an engineering perspective was really crucial that we had it, because it helped us without any friction to go into this.
But Carsten, if we could go a little bit back actually to the scalability, because that's also, I'm always amazed every time we talk to each other. I think I need to write like every half year a new case study on Sportradar, because you always change the company. How does everybody keeps up with the speed? I mean, for me, it seems like you pretend still to lead a company like the local offices. They are very local, very modest. It's a more than 2 billion valuation what you have. You still have majority. How do you get everybody on board, and how do you get that amazing speed for every transformation? First, scalability. You always scaling up immense. And a second, actually also in crisis like reorientation, reinventing yourself.
Look,
what's the trick?
The trick is that I think I have that in common with many of my friends, which are also entrepreneurs. The trick is you do not look on the size and what can go wrong. Once you made sure that you have the basic under control, it's all about thinking in risk categories. You're going to move on, and you have joy and fun with what you're doing. For me, it's fantastic. I created the company I love, and every moment I enjoy it enormously. But there are moments, let's say, when I have board meetings, I don't enjoy that too much. But
you also have corporate members included and private equity.
Yes, including really things which I don't like too much. I don't like to think defensive. To really do all the things which are written in management handbooks. I'm usually trying to find shortcuts or being innovative. But I think this is the mix which helps you. And I think now specifically in the crisis, it was for us very helpful. So if you wait with clear guidelines and communication only for a week too long, that might be really defining your future and your destiny. So you're going to need to be quick. You're going to need to be bold in that process. And that's difficult. The bigger that gets, the more people trying to synchronize and don't do a decision. That's the problem. As an entrepreneur, you can do that decisions, and that's a privilege.
Yeah, but I know you're a fast thinker and a fast decision maker, but a company with 3,000 people, global company, globally distributed, impressing people. I remember Michael Jordan, for example, on the board of the US activities. I mean, you have and a lot of other famous people actually on board. How do you keep the speed of decisions? Because I think you need to get them also on board, everybody. And it's no longer a single morning wake up when I said, oh, I thought that we need to go that direction, and then you just go. You need to get everybody on board. What did change actually?
Yeah, look, they're having various stakeholders. You're going to need to manage them, yes. In principle, the good thing is nearly everybody of my stakeholders is saying, Carsten, you manage this shop. We know that you can do it. You proved it a couple of times in your life. You created value. And I have to say, I'm in the lucky situation that in the last 25 years, when I worked with partners, I created for all their partners value. So on the very beginning of my...
You also did a very successful exit, actually. Also, yes. You brought a company, you founded a company, you brought it to the stock exchange in Vienna. I think it was the largest listing in the stock exchange in Vienna. And you had been very successful before founding.
Yeah, not the largest, but the most successful. So it was, the company name was Bet and Win at this time, BWin later on. Was a sports betting platform where I even did the programming for the software piece, or helped with this, and then got that operationally into that IPO stage in Vienna. And from a success rate, yes, with a more or less a story and 70 employees, we raised 110 million euros. At this time was a lot of money, and it developed into a 2 billion business. So that is not bad, but the development of the 2 billion business, I was not involved in this anymore. I did the IPO. I stayed for a year in the company, and then I realized I'm an entrepreneur, want to carry on. So I don't want to be too much surrounded by a lot of restrictions and frameworks, as long as I cannot influence it from a majority side. And that was a difference, was a good learning in my life, in saying I'm going to need to have that control majority, that I can go my way. I need partners which are behind me. And that is, I think, also now the success or a secret of the success from Sportradar.
But you're not a control freak, if I might say. In that terms, you're not a KPI-driven freak who ask for reports on everything.
Absolutely not. And I'm totally against it. So look, it's not in my nature. So when I'm working with people, I respect that every of my manager is in his subject better than I can be. They know it better. They are deeper into those things, and I blindly trust them. So I like to empower people and say, you are the expert. I can help you if you ask me about things, but I totally trust you. I learned in a couple of years of my business life, yes, that I have different characters and different profiles. Some of them need KPIs. Some of them need this more, some of them less, but my principle is always to really make that business based on, there are subject matter experts, they do this better than I can do it. I can give them direction and strategy, but I let them execute instead of measuring and monitor them. But what you just said is management of shareholders, which is a different piece. And therefore, for me personally, it's good if I have the voting share majority. I learned this in my life. It's more helpful. So you can do the decisions if you have 51%. That is helpful for this. Last observation, you mentioned our American shareholders. These guys are much more easygoing. So they see business different, I have to say. They see it on a bigger scale. They are ready to do quicker, bold steps. Of course, they are quicker disappointed if you don't deliver. But in principle, if they can choose, they go a bold step and go all in. It's a big country. And the principle is more, let's explore and let's use big opportunities. And we might make some mistakes on this way. Better we do mistakes than we can catch the big opportunity. That's more the principle.
What would be the next story? I think so. Part 2 of the Harvard Business Case Study. I know I have to write the transformation, which is an amazing story what you did. What will be part 3 if we look into the future? you're thinking and you're acting, and you bought already a company in the area of media industry. What would be the future? How would Sportradar look like in 5 years? I don't dare to say 10 years because
don't do it. Don't do it. No, look, it's we put the sport fan in the center of our thinking. Holistically, everything what is interesting for the sport fan is something which we want to do. So looking now into the process, we have 8,500 scouts around the globe. We have 1,500 data operators in 5 different operation centers. We're pretty good in this. But in the future, it will be the computer. Computer vision is a big buzzword. Sensoric chips are everywhere. So we need to process this. We need to manage this, to store it. It's not an easy exercise because we're talking video storage. And then you kind of need to process this to get the information out of it. That is machine learning. Later on, it's artificial intelligence that the machine improves itself. And then you play it out into product verticals. Sports betting is obviously a vertical which we understand well. That goes from pure modeling of predictions into risk management, platform business, user profiling, marketing, which is in there. Are a lot of aspects around this. Looking from a media perspective, this industry is at the moment in a transformation. So there is a big disruption with the COVID crisis. More or less the ticketing broke away for sport. Sponsoring is suffering, merchandising is suffering because the fan loyalty is not there. And the digital sport fan is a different beast. And for the last 5 years, probably the big media players and broadcasters haven't focused too much on it. Data is the key for this. Profiling is the key. The buzzword is customized user content. So you're going to need to deliver the content in the moment when the user is anticipating, or you're anticipating that he needs it, and you close then the whole value chain behind it, get the marketing, the merchandising on top of this. There is a spin-off into the sports betting industry, which we know quite well. There are spin-offs in many of the traditional industries. And I think there is at the moment a big transformation ongoing, accelerated by the crisis.
So the Bloomberg of the sports industry, that would be Sportradar.
You know what? I like this. So, and I had now the big luck and the pleasure that the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, Deidre from Bloomberg, joined my board. And so we try to learn from the best. And that's a constant progress, but I like the comparison.
Thanks very much, Carsten. So I can't read exactly because of the keeping up the distance between us. We had a little bit too far away. So Sue, may I ask you to ask if there's any questions in the chat, or could you moderate that? Questions to Carsten. Is there anything?
At the moment, there's not any questions in the chat, so I don't know whether people would like to unmute and maybe ask questions for discussion.
Is there anything I would like to open up just as anything important to need? There's a lot of newspaper stuff written about Sportsradar at the moment. We're not allowed to talk about that one, but is there anything about, the future? I didn't mention that we could use the chat for getting into action.
So, if there are no questions, you should ask me a couple of questions, Oliver. I think.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions to ask. It was just the thing, but my question to you, Carsten, would be, what is actually the core competence? At the moment, you have over 8,000 scouts all over the live to enter actually the live data, which was actually quite, I think, crucial at the beginning of the journey. How would be the future of Sportradar if with computer vision you actually work even more in the simulation world and more in the digital world, and you don't need the physical interface where you actually came from at the beginning?
This is a very interesting question. And for us, it's not about replacing human beings with computer vision or computer algorithms. What we get was when we have a video stream from whatever sport, we get the positioning data, and then it is all about mapping what we call elementary events into those positioning data. So how can you read, for example, a goal in soccer? The ball is passing the end line. You need to have a marker for the end line. You need to have a marker for the ball. You need to know that the ball left a head or a foot or some other body parts for a player to define as an own goal, or is it a goal which is scored by whomever you identify, forwarder, and so on. You do this with face recognition, the number on the shirt, so you can use various methods. And it's quite, sometimes it's a more complex process, but it's fairly simple definable. To measure energy consumption and anticipation of players is much more difficult, but you can also measure it. If
so
you
the Shaqiri is actually low with efforts, you're exhausted, you would say you could forecast that, and you would also bring that in the prediction of the forecast of the game.
You are
before I see it.
You are sharp.
Where I'm not good.
You're a sharp thinker, and it's about this.
I'm not good in observing.
Yeah, it's about can you really use that information and the exponentially bigger data sets than before to predict such things? And yes, the answer is, Oliver, you can. With a high probability, the data is telling you there might be now an action where even Shaqiri is involved in, and he might have a better chance to score a goal. So you can read this. Of course, you never can say it 100%, but that's predictable models. And then you can create various products. You can do entertainment products with visualizations showing you statistics, or you can create betting products for this. So that's where it is going. If you ask me about the vision, I was very, very impressed when I was 6 weeks ago in Abu Dhabi. And I learned that they created a company with 1,000 employees, most of them PhDs, 80%, with sensational education. And they created a university around this with computer science and with especially computer vision. And they want to be the best in artificial intelligence and in machine learning in their region, or probably even competing against China. And as you know, in China, we have a lot of those things ongoing. So it's the same for us. It will be a fight for the best brains, because the data points which we have, they need to get into a format, and then we need these brains to help us to translate it. And the more we get, the more we need. So there is no question about it. We are a software company. We need to scale here horizontal. And it is all about who can manage this best: the storage, the analytics, the processing, and translating it into products. The products is the simplest part. The industry is clear. It's sports betting, it is the media business, and it's the teams and the leagues.
We have about 1 minute left. Thank you very much. We've got 1 minute left, but we've got a question in the chat, which is, which of the 55 BMs are the most relevant for Sportradar success?
Oh, that's a good question. I love that question. I think I paid somebody that somebody asked that question. At least it looks like. Carsten, now that would be the question to you. Which one is we worked actually on that one, but I think Carsten is overloaded with that one.
Yeah.
Which is the right business model which works?
Look, it's very interesting. I would say Carsten is not the one for the business models and the handbooks, but it's a combination of all of this. And if you go then very much into the details, a lot of things which I'm doing are also driven by a gut instinct. And this is not in the business models by itself.
You haven't read any book on business and make always jokes about management books. You're absolutely techie, but a good techie, I would say, with a great vision and hugely successful. So for us as management scholars, actually, we just can write about you and admire the instinct. And it was the same always asked, did Elon Musk actually read all the books? No, they didn't. And you also didn't. But I think I could give a larger answer, but the chat here is not about me. It's about Carsten and Sportradar, and thanks very much for joining, Carsten. It was, as always, it's always a pleasure when you join and when we talk to each other. We had now a bit strange feeling that we see each other only at the monitor, but thanks very much. It's always really a great pleasure that you've
Thank
been
you.
here.
Thank you, Oliver. And thanks for the audience. I hope it was half the way interesting. I promise that I will come back when we reinvented the business model. And I hope that sooner or later we have the chance to see each other face to face. Take care and stay safe.
Take care to Berlin.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice day.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.